There is no birth without death first. The way out is through. It is through. You think a baby wants to be born? That's traumatizing. I mean, think about what the baby being born is going through, as well as the mom. I know the mom is going through intense pain. I've watched this 3 times. I have 3 kids. But the child, oh my gosh, they don't know what's happening. For 9 months, they were cozy. They thought this was life. Everything is as it should be. And then all of a sudden, their world starts to push them out. And it's traumatizing, and it's painful, and it's scary. And you literally end up in a different world. For 9 months, they are in a world. And then after that, they're in a completely different world. So when it comes to awakening, it's not self-help. This stuff is not self-help. Now you can do that. I'm not bashing self-help. I loved it for like a decade. And it does help the self. But I mean, it's in the words. Think about it. Self-help, self-improvement. Awakening is annihilation of the self. It's not improving it or making it better. Now, I do think it's beneficial to improve it before you annihilate it, because then you really kind of, I mean, it's beneficial in the way that you really learn how to manipulate and master the ego until you crush it. So, I had this reoccurring dream as a kid, and it didn't make sense because it was kind of traumatizing, but it was before I was too young to have experienced enough life that, or to experience trauma. I was 5 or 6 years old when it started, and I had this dream over 20 times for the next decade. Yeah, it was a long time. I remember it like it's a real memory because I had it so much. And I had no idea at the time what it meant, what it was about. But I think I do now. It's about this process. It's about dying and being reborn into a completely different way of life that is not a better version of your old life and does not come through beautiful silent retreats or any other thing that is meant to soothe the ego. This is death of the ego that usually comes with a fight or a battle or a struggle. Anybody who's been through this, that's who I'm talking to, because you know exactly what I'm talking about. So the dream was, I was on an old ship, smaller crew, and somehow a bunch of pirates boarded the ship, and there was this knife and sword fight happening. Now, the pirates who boarded the ship, there was way more of them than us. They were way more skilled in warfare, and we were losing. We were losing the fight. Guys were dying left and right and getting thrown overboard, including myself. So I end up getting thrown overboard, and the guy who threw me, it jumped overboard and landed on me, and it's pushing me. His knees are in my chest, and it's pushing me deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper underwater, to the point where, not exaggerating, I was over 100 feet deep. And there comes a point in the dream every time where I look up at the light getting darker and darker and darker and realizing I am so deep. Even if I win or kill this guy or get him off of me, I still lose. There's no way I can swim back. Like, I don't have enough breath to swim all the way back up to the surface. So this is it. Yeah, it's the end. And I feel it with all the sheer terror and disappointment and struggle and fighting, and then finally acceptance. And I take a huge breath in and find out I can breathe underwater. Now, a couple breaths happen, and I get so excited that I wake up. every time. I never get much past that excitement in the dream, and there's only small variations of how this happens and how I end up getting to the breathing in stage. But mostly the dream is pretty much exactly the same. And wow, it is deeper than I will ever be able to explain. But it's like now I know it from the inside out. And when I was a kid having this dream, I was watching it from the outside in. It is the process. It is the process. You lose, you're losing, and then you lose everything. You struggle, you fight, there's massive amounts of fear, and then there's just complete surrender to what is. It's over. But when it comes to the flesh dying and the spirit rising up, or the ego dying and the whatever you want to call it, part of you dies so another part can live. When you're in it, it is no different from actual death, what it feels like. I've been in both situations. I've had a near-death experience, and I've also had an ego death, and they feel the same. Actually, the ego death is probably worse. I don't know how that even makes sense. But yeah, people that talk about raising your vibration or elevating your consciousness or saving all sentient beings, helping humanity and being good people and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know what that is, but that's not this process. It just sounds like soothing, pacifying the ego, building a spiritual ego so you feel better, but you're still like completely ego bound and there's really no difference. Now, I don't say these things with disdain or hatred towards anyone doing that, because I think most people have done that. I've done that. It's not a big deal. It's not right or wrong. It just is what it is. I'm just explaining this from the perspective of someone who has truly experienced the pain and the craziness and the mania part of awakening. I think a lot of people just want to build a better dream, a better life, and to feel better. Now, if you want that, don't seek awakening or enlightenment, because that's not what it is. Truth burns out everything that's untrue until there is really no life or you or ego or anything left, until there is just truth. Now, it's really beautiful. But the weird paradox about it is the farther you get into it, the farther you go, the farther you get, the more of you that gets demolished, the more of you that gets torn down, the more you let go of, the more truth you see, the less there is of you to care and have an opinion either way. So it gets harder to look at a group of people and say, oh, poor them, or oh, they're wrong, or oh, they don't get it. I don't even do that anymore. Now, I see it when people don't get it, but it doesn't really make me even feel a certain way. It is what it is. But the comfortable, soothing stuff, like if you want to go that route, just go that route. Improve the self, improve the ego, make a better dream. That's fine. But true awakening out of the dream, wow, it's rough. You ever have a dream so deep and so intense and like maybe even so good that it's so realistic it doesn't even feel like a dream, and then your alarm rings right in the middle of it and you're so disoriented by waking up because you swear you weren't asleep that it takes like 5 minutes to just figure out what's going on and where you are? Yeah. That's what it feels like. It just takes longer than 5 minutes. So I'm 4, 5, I don't know where I'm at, 6 months in at this point, and I am still figuring it out. And there is no place to land. There's no opinions to hold. There's no sides to take. Like when you see the meaninglessness of everything and how all of you and like your personality and the things you did and the choices you made were all fueled by just programming and fear mostly, it is wild and really disorienting. Like for me, I tried to land in non-duality or different groups. I was like, oh, these guys seem to know, these guys seem to know, but there was nothing. There was nowhere to land. There was no group. I still feel completely alone in this, but not lonely. Don't hear me wrong. It's just a solo process because you realize there is no one else. I probably sound crazy. What's my point? Okay, so back to the dream, the progress, the death. The dream is interesting. It's symbolic. It's quite literal and metaphorical at the same time. But how do you actually do it? How does it start? So if you think about me being on the ship and it being attacked, that's how it starts. Your life is just going along. You're cruising. And suddenly the attackers are the questions. You start questioning. Like, what am I doing? What is this? Is this all there is? Is this the point? Am I supposed to go to work and then go home and then do this my whole life and then die? And then, when I start getting overtaken on the ship and I start to feel like I'm losing, that was the point where in my life I had come up with the biggest questions I could think of. Like, who am I? What am I doing here? Is God even real? Why do I believe in this particular religion? What does it mean? Some of the really big ones. And then getting thrown over the side of the ship in the dream and starting to drown would be me actually realizing and starting to viscerally feel the questions themselves are unanswerable, which is terrifying because I lived based on the answers that I just assumed were like, oh, yes, there's a God. My life has purpose. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. So all that stuff started getting disrupted and it started affecting me and I started drowning. And then it got to the point where I realized, oh my gosh, my entire life is a sham. This has all been a lie. Nothing I've ever been told is true. I don't think other people were lying. I think they also don't know. And everything unraveled. And then in the dream, when I'm sinking and sinking and sinking, and I finally have that moment of just, this is it. I give up. And then I take a breath in. That would be all these questions leading to the crisis that I would call an ego death. So it just seems to be the process of how this stuff plays out. Now, there's a few things that have to die first. And not necessarily in order, but here's how it happened for me. So I had a real near-death experience in my early 20s. I overdosed on drugs, and I remember my last thought. It was quite pathetic. There was about 10 minutes there before I blacked out, and I was really struggling trying to tell myself this isn't real, this isn't happening. I'm not going to die. I can't die right now. I'm too young. This is not. And then I finally accepted it. And right before I accepted it, my last thought was, my mom is going to be so sad and pissed that she raised me and this is how I die of a drug overdose at a party. And then I had just full acceptance and peace, and then I blacked out. So that's one of the first main bigger attachments that you have to kill. And it's I think we all have it, the need to please and be someone for your parents. Your parents are nothing. They need to become nothing to you. Not that they're not important, but if you have this need and attachment to please or be someone or show or be a certain way for either parent that you have, that will keep you trapped and enslaved your entire life. It's got to go. It's like that phrase, if you meet the Buddha on the road, kill him. Well, you got to kill your parents, metaphorically, first. And then eventually, teachers, any spiritual teacher, any book you read, all the information, all the teachings, they got to go too. You got to kill them. That might be the last step in between the parents and everything else that happens. Because we're so attached to these father and mother figures. We think they know, but they don't know. And a lot of times when this shift happens for you, you will surpass everyone, including your parents and your teachers, and then it will feel really strange that you ever thought that their opinions or worldviews mattered to begin with. When you die to everything. When you drown to the world you once knew. Now you don't die, but everything that you knew, all the ways that you moved and lived and thought, that all dies. And something new emerges. And it's beautiful. But the process is ugly. It starts with questions. It ends with panic. And then you are reborn in a way. You die and you are reborn into a world that you do not even recognize. And you suddenly are in a world, but you are not of the world. Everything's new. And then like a child, you start exploring. So for me, I had to put myself in situations that were similar to my past to see if there was a difference. Here's one, I'll give an example of one that's kind of immature. Everything was so different after this shift, ego death that I had, that I truly wondered sometimes, like, how different is this? So one night I got a bottle of wine and drank the entire thing just to see. I'm like, can I still get drunk? I don't know. I can, but it's useless now. It's pointless. I drank the whole bottle and I was so extremely aware of every tiny sensation and thought and everything about it that it completely killed what used to be fun. Like I used to drink to become more unconscious, to numb my thoughts, to stop thinking, to have fun, to socialize at parties. This time, it actually made me more aware to the point where I didn't even feel intoxicated like I would in the past. And I remember sending a voice memo to my friend and telling him what I did and how weird it was. And I listened to it the next morning and I sounded fine. I wasn't slurring. I woke up with zero hangover. There are just some things in the past that you can't go back to that actually do change permanently. And that's fine. And it's also fine to just explore and be immature and try different things, because like sometimes you just got to prove things to yourself. You can't listen to anyone else. And that's what this is all about. I hope you don't believe me. I hope you truly try this, and not the drinking part, but the awakening, like the questioning, the analyzing your own beliefs and why you do what you do and who you are. It has to come from within you, not external, not from a teacher, not from anyone else, not from books. And that's the whole point. Go find yourself. And thanks for watching.